Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Cage Talk. Today I have TKO Lightweight Champion. We have Sam Hands of Stone Stout. How you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to be on the show.
Yeah, again, big fan. Loved your work, outside of UFC. Loved your work inside the UFC. You were one of the young up-and-coming fighters that would just lay it out on the line, and I love
that. Was a long time ago.
Yeah, you know what? These young cats need to know what good fighters. There's still obviously good fighters now, but back in the day as well, especially starting up, and a lot of people don't. Again, they're all about Conor McGregor and Khabib, which are good fighters, but I mean there were other ones before them.
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, we were all just trying to. The sport was still so new. We were all just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So It was a different time.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But again, great just talking to you and stuff. Now you're located in Canada, right? But what part?
I'm in London, Ontario. It's like southwestern Ontario.
Okay.
Kind of in between Detroit and Toronto, kind of.
Gotcha. Because I went to Canada one time, and it was back in like 2000. Oh fuck! It was like 2012. It was Quebec City. I went to Quebec City, and the reason why I went there was just it was my birthday, and I just wanted to go to Canada. I wanted to go to Toronto, but Toronto was too expensive, so I'm like, I'll just do this. Look kind of cool, but I froze my ass off, man. I went at the end towards.
Don't go in the winter, man.
I went in November, man. I went in November, and it was rough. I mean, the food portions as well. I mean, that's why you guys are so Canadians are so skinny, man. The food portions were so little and stuff, and I felt
it's funny to say that. I just had to fly through Vegas to get to Fight Island a couple weeks ago, and me and do you know who Joe Valtellini?
Absolutely, man.
Me and Bazooka Joe were like, okay, let's order some Uber Eats. We were quarantined to a hotel room, and I was like, okay, we'll get like some enchiladas and 2 tacos each, right? Thinking they're going to be little ass tacos. We end up getting we got the bag came, it weighed like 6 pounds.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy, man. I was like, half the trip, I was starving to death. Half the trip, I was freezing. I was like, shit, I just want to go home. You know what?
Wasn't a great experience.
You know what? Other than that, it was the people were really nice. It was a French town, and even if I didn't speak French,
you know what? For future reference, I would suggest Montreal next time.
There we go. Okay.
No. It's I mean, Quebec's a beautiful city, but it's very French speaking.
Yep.
I mean, I speak the language, but it's still they can be kind of rude. I'm surprised you said they were all good to you, because a lot of times they can be a little rude with English speakers.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
The first couple times where they spoke French to me and I spoke English, they kind of looked at me and they were like,
not that they're all bad. I mean, I've had some great times in Montreal or in Quebec City, but I prefer Montreal.
Okay,
personally.
so
it's like, my wife's from there.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of time there. We haven't been in a while, but we're planning on going back in the next few weeks. But it's a great city. The same kind of like beautiful architecture and a lot of history in the city.
Very.
But you get kind of almost half and half English and French. Like almost everyone there speaks English as well.
Okay.
So, better place for a tourist.
Yeah, I mean, it was still cool.
And go in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. I heard, every time like I was going through and stuff, people were just telling me like, just go in the summertime. It's super nice to have a bunch of festivals and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I understand, but it was good. It snowed while I was ice skating in the middle of the city. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it's an experience anyways,
yeah,
right?
Definitely. Exactly. So let's talk about your experience. All right. Your whole MMA career, man. I mean, you won Fight of the Night, I think 6 times. I mean, that's pretty hard to do. You had some crazy battles in the UFC as well as in TKO. And kind of let's just start off from the basic, from the beginning. What got you into mixed martial arts, and what made you want to compete, man?
I met Sean Tompkins when I was 16.
Okay.
And he started dating my sister, so he just came home to meet the family, and then so I basically started training with him the following day almost.
Okay.
And then it just kind of started off kickboxing. It was me, Hominick, Chris Hordesky, you know, a couple other guys came and went over the years that, and then we would do road trips every weekend, go fight somewhere, go fight, you know, all over the Midwest. Usually we'd have to cross the border. There wasn't a lot going on in Canada. So we're doing above the waist kickboxing, and then we kind of progressed to more Thai boxing. And then Mark got his debut shot. Mark had done competed in Pancrase already.
Yeah.
Hominick. So he got a fight for the TKO title in his first fight against Richard Nanku. And so I just kind of started off doing MMA to help him train as a training partner. Next thing you know, the Ultimate Fighter show was really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And MMA started getting a lot more attention. Kickboxing was kind of tough, and there wasn't really any money in it. If you were looking down the road to make it a career, or we didn't see, and we were just, so with TKO being what it was at that time, we just had a bigger opportunity in the MMA world. So,
Gotcha.
But at that time I was basically a kickboxer doing MMA fights. So I really had to learn a lot about wrestling, a lot about jiu-jitsu on the fly as I was doing it. So That's kind of, if you go back and watch my old fights, they're pretty much, I try to keep them all on the feet.
Standing up.
You know? Yeah.
Gotcha. And why do you think kickboxing wasn't so big? Like it feels like in America it wasn't so big, but in other countries, kickboxing was awesome.
I don't know if it would have taken off bigger in the kind of North American market if the UFC hadn't got so huge, right? I think the UFC kind of overtook it, but we were just talking about Joe Valtellini. He had a great kickboxing career. I think it just took a little more effort to kind of come up through the ranks because what you said, you had to travel a lot. You had to, find promoters that would fly you out to Europe or Japan or whatever. And I did that too. I fought in K1. I fought on some good, I did a lot of pro kickboxing fights too, but they were more few and far between and they paid less. So.
Gotcha. How many amateur fights did you have under your belt?
It's funny. I was just talking about that. I have no idea. I'd ballpark it around 50 kickboxing fights.
Okay.
But we were just looking for fights anywhere we could get them. So sometimes if there was a guy who was, had a 20-10 record, then we'd say I was 15-5, just so we'd try and bridge the gap. And if there was somebody who was, 10-2, and I was, we just kind of make my record sound close enough to make the fight happen because we just wanted to get as much experience as we could. So it kind of made it really hard to lose or to keep track. It's one of my regrets. I didn't keep a journal or log all my fights, but to be honest, I have no idea.
Okay. I mean, hey, I respect that. I mean, again,
I would ballpark it around 50.
Okay. I mean, it was a lot different back then and compared to nowadays, way different.
I was just trying to get ring time.
Gotcha.
I was just trying to, we didn't really care. It was just fun. And really, at that time, I wasn't planning on making a career out of it. We were just fighting to fight.
Yep. Okay. All right. So your UFC debut, man, UFC 58, USA versus Canada. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The main thing was you were supposed to fight Kenny Florian. He gets pulled out. He withdraws. I think it was a back injury.
He hurt his back. He threw out his back packing his bag to come to Vegas.
Wow.
For the fight. So I got there. We checked in. And then the next morning I woke up and I got a call down from Joe Silva. And he said, Sam, I got some good news and some bad news. He's like, the bad news is Kenny's out. And he says, the good news is we found you another fight with Spencer Fisher.
It is.
And I had gone out to Iowa and trained with Spencer before. And I knew he was a badass. Mm-hmm. But they were both left-handed. So I had that going for him, but it was a much different fight. Definitely. So I took Sean out into the hallway outside the room. I was just like, let me go talk to my coach for a second. We went outside for about 30 seconds. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, well, you don't have to take the fight. But if you don't, you may never fight in the UFC again. And I was like, well, that answers that question. So I said, okay, let's do it. They guaranteed me the winning purse, which was 2-2 at that time. So they guaranteed me $4,000 for the win or lose.
Wow.
And
For a epic brawl like that, that's
yeah,
ludicrous. That's
yeah. So that was the starting contract back then. It's up to 12-12 now, I think. I
yeah,
think so.
it's something crazy. I mean, I think I was talking to Greg about that, Gray as well, about the
Yeah, he's been pretty vocal about the pay and kind of,
yeah.
you know,
There's several fighters that I talked to, man.
I tend to agree. I mean, I get it. I get the UFC's point of view, but it's like everyone's just trying to make money, right? Everyone's trying to, I don't hold any. I don't. I can't say I don't hold anything, but I mean, I still love Dana,
Mhm.
but it's it's a business to him, and everyone's trying to keep as much money in their pocket as possible. I mean, I do think the fighters deserve more and should be paid more. If you want to hear my opinion on the matter, yeah. But anyways, where were we going here?
Well, where we're going with it is the Spencer fit. Okay, so they call you, they say, hey, here's this guy, about this guy. So how does that game plan change? Do you guys just go over something real quickly? Like, how is it? Because again, you said he was lefty. You were training for a lefty because Kenny.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I had sparred with him before, so I kind of knew what he was all about. I had watched all his fights.
okay.
So I was. It's not like we had to go and find out who this guy was. We knew exactly who he was.
Yeah.
So we came up with it. Yeah, we kind of spent the next 3 days while we were doing our weight cut, kind of talking about a new game plan, and we went out. We just brawled, so it didn't really matter.
I mean, I think it was like UFC's like top like 20 like best fights of all time. I mean you guys beat the hell out of each other. I mean, it was such a good fight. And again, if no one's ever watched that, go ahead and watch, Stout versus Spencer Fisher. It's an incredible fight.
Yeah, all three of them were.
Yes.
We won fight of the night on all three. So that's when you said. I think I had 6 fight of the nights, but that was before they had fight.
Oh, they did.
If you go back into that, they made like a UFC encyclopedia. It says the fight with David Loiseau and Rich Franklin was the fight of the night on that one, but that was a pretty one-sided beatdown, really. If you remember that.
I remember that.
So
David's eye was bulging out. I remember that. It was nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I felt. I mean, yeah. That one really took a lot out of David. He had a hard time getting that fire going after that one too. So I love the guy though. Don't get me wrong. He's still a legend.
Yeah, he is. David the Crow Loiseau he's a beast, man. No one does a spinning back kick better than him, man. His
spinning back kick, and you remember those nasty elbows he used to throw at people? It was just those razor elbows. That's what got him to that title shot. That was crazy.
But again, which fight out of that Spencer Fisher trilogy did you like the most?
I mean, the first one probably, because it was, it was a close win. It was my first fight. Hominick had beat Eve Edwards. We were both big underdogs. We both took home wins. We had a bunch of friends and family out in Vegas with us. It was like, that whole, just because of the whole experience, it was, the best. I think, the most exciting one was probably the one Spencer won, the next one.
The second one.
We had a war in that one, but Spencer won that one clearly. And then the third one, I threw Spencer off with a couple takedowns.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you kind of like the first two were kind of very very similar to each other, just the fighting style you guys had. And the third one, I think you kind of switched it up on him, right?
You know what? I like that right hand and stepping through with that right cross and going into that takedown on a lefty. It just works really well for me. It always has. And I was just kind of drilling it in the back room, and we were sharing a room with Mark Delagrati, and I was just kind of drilling it on Hordesky, but it wasn't really the game plan. And then Delagrati was like, dude, just do that in the fight. And and we ended up at, he was there for somebody else, but he ended up helping in the corner because we had an extra spot, and he already had corner credentials.
Okay.
And he started calling for it, and I just kept hitting it on him. So, and I mean, I could have gone out you know, Spencer was getting up there. It was towards the end of his career. I probably could have stood there and duked it out with him again. But that could have gone either way. I knew that. So that was a little strategic on my part. Spencer was he was a little choked at me after the fight. So he's like, I thought we were just going to bang it out again. But him and I have stayed in touch. We're still friends.
That's
you
awesome.
know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't think people realize, unless you're a fighter yourself, like they don't realize, you know, once you go into war, it's like you look at that person completely different after those.
Yeah, man, it's a brotherhood. You
Yep.
know, you spill each other's blood like that and go out there and do something that 99% of the population would be too scared to do in the first place. And doing it against the other guys who are the best in the world. It's like you got to give respect, even if you don't really like the person. You still got to respect them. And Spencer's a good guy. So, you know, most of the guys, once that final bell rings or the horn goes or whatever, then you know, I'm usually down to have a beer with them and shoot the shit. Most of these guys are all good guys, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And again, like I said, you had some crazy fights in the octagon. What was maybe your favorite fight, or what was your most memorable fight that you remember?
My favorite fight.
There's one that I think would be your one of your favorite moments. If you want me to tell you, it's
there's two that really stick out in my mind. Obviously, the Eve Edwards win was a big one. I mean, it was in Canada. You know, it was my only knockout in the UFC, which was kind of crazy. I knocked out like 8 out of 10 guys that I had beat before, and then I just, you know, it was almost kind of embarrassing calling myself Hands of Stone when I hadn't knocked anybody out. So that one was sweet. I love Eves. Him and, you know, I respected him. I was really prepared for that one because I was like, this is Eve Edwards. This is a guy, when I was first starting to train, I was watching him, you know, knock guys out and be the uncrowned champ of the lightweight division. So that one was big. But my favorite fight ever was my win against Joe Lozon.
Oh yeah, Joe Lozon. I mean,
and you know, that one, I was 3-1 underdog. I just, same thing. I knew that was a very tough opponent. I had to really get my shit together and train hard for that one. And I went out there, and for some reason, I just like, everything just felt perfect. I had a great camp. I had a great weight cut, and this feeling of calmness just came over me. And I went in there and just executed better than I ever did, and better than I ever did again. So
definitely. Did you ever get any like jitters and stuff between the fight, or that happens?
Oh, hell yeah. Every time. Yeah. That was one of the only times where I really just felt calm and just like confident with no doubts in the back of my mind. And it was strange. I tried to do the next camp the exact same way and duplicate everything I did, and it just was never quite like that ever again. So that Joe Lozon fight's my favorite one.
Got you. Again, no one's ever seen it, man. That's another hell of a fight. Like I said before, man. I just love the way you fought. Just love your style and stuff. And
appreciate it. You know, taking almost as many punches as you throw is a good way to get the crowd going. So.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about memories and giving the fans, you know, a good show. And as obviously as protecting yourself, I know. I mean, now you're more settled down. You have a family, and that's awesome, man. I'm really happy for you.
Thanks, man.
No problem. I know that you have. I think I was reading up. You started something that's like a bully foundation. Is that?
We've done a lot. I've done a lot of stuff for anti-bullying kind of campaigns over the years. It's one of those things. It's like you can raise money for it, but I think the most important thing is just getting out and talking to people about it, and just raising more awareness and talking to kids, and you know, letting them know. You know, I think fighters are in an interesting position to do it because it's like, you know, you see a lot of people look at it, it's a violent thing and you're punching somebody in the face. So your first thought might be, who are you to tell kids not to bully people? But
Exactly.
the thing about it is we go in there, we both know what we're getting into. It's a mutually agreed upon thing. And then we shake hands when it's done. And like I said, I usually try and find my opponent in the arena and buy him a beer. That's not bullying. That's combat sports, right? It's a very different thing. And I think it puts us in a position, because of the respect that earns us with a younger generation, then I think they might be more inclined to listen to us than a teacher or a parent or, whatever.
I think
some other more an authority figure.
I agree completely. And again, what was your okay, you saw the only thing up right now is UFC fights. I mean, you have baseball that's like hanging in there, and the Toronto Blue Jays aren't the greatest, but what is your take on, let's see, who's your favorite fighter right now watching, style wise, just personality, for the UFC as right now? I try to talk about this with Mark Hunt, and he's
Current.
not fond of
You know what? I got to go with Gaethje. That last fight was incredible. I was like, damn, this
I didn't
dude.
expect it. I didn't expect it, to be honest.
I thought Ferguson. I was picking Ferguson.
Me
I
too.
thought Ferguson was going to wear him out like he does to almost everybody else. Like, Ferguson takes a lot of shots. He's durable, obviously, but usually guys can't keep that pace for that long. Gaethje brought it the whole 5 rounds, took it to him. It was insane.
Yeah.
That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. So I'm going with Justin Gaethje right now. I like Poirier right now. He's been looking awesome.
Definitely.
Great to see a guy who's been around since my day.
Exactly.
Who's really,
so.
really hitting his stride at this kind of juncture in his career, and really just like continuing to get better. It's cool to see, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like Dustin as well. But again, Gaethje.
But there's some young guys coming up like that. The one dude who just fought twice in a week. What's his name? He's like one of the Russian guys
He's the one with the beard
and the scar on his lip.
Yeah, I don't know his name. Everyone's
He was vicious,
really
man.
He was really
90 unanswered or 90 something unanswered strikes. Like, I've never heard of somebody doing that.
Yeah,
that's got to be, quickest turnaround time in UFC history, and then go out and at 2 different weight classes, and then go out and have a performance that dominant. It's insane.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's the only thing is sometimes with UFC fighters or the UFC in general is like they kind of hype up the fighter a lot, and then sometimes they don't perform or expect. You get what I'm saying? And that might be just the UFC and then the fans as well. I mean, I forgot what
for sure.
The heavyweight fighter, Santos. Was it Santos? Is that no Paul Walker? No, not Paul Walker. What's his name? Johnny Walker. Everyone was hyping up, and then he got lit up. I mean, he's still a good fighter. Don't get me nothing against him.
Yeah. But again, and then you got guys like the Sage Northcutts, and there's been a lot of those guys, right?
Exactly.
Where they come out and look really impressive in their debuts, and then and then they get fed. They start getting fed guys that are in the top 10 really quickly, and then they you see what they're really made of. But that being said, those are usually guys who get like a quick, impressive knockout a couple times in a row. Yep. This dude dominated 2 guys in less than 2 weeks, like, and not with flashy knockouts or lucky punches, like held them down, beat the piss out of them. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Do you think it's the UFC's fault that they kind of, it's not like, it's almost like, how like boxing, you have the unranked and it takes a while to get into that contention where they kind of, feed you, not scrubs, but, little by little.
Yeah, they build you. They build you. Yeah.
So do you think it's the UFC's fault for kind of
I think they build guys too quick sometimes, definitely. I think that's also the managers, the fighters' managers' job to say, no, let's slow this down. Yeah. Because the fighter's ego is going to say,
hell yeah,
I'll fight anybody, right? The best fighters anyways, the guys who don't have any fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having a good manager is what you need to that's their job, to play the middle and not be working for the UFC. They need to be working for their fighters and making sure they get the most out of their career and keep them safe too.
Definitely, man. Again, I do appreciate you coming out and spending some time. I know, your wife, she's probably like calling you like, "Hey, let's go." We'll cut it off right here. But
she ordered Uber Eats. She's just sitting right. She can hear you. She's just
no. I know. I see you looking like that, so she's probably like, "Let's go."
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Want my food.
Yeah, I'm just getting hungry. Getting hungry watching her eat.
All right, but again, I want to say, Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an honor.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure
to have you, to watch you. I'm glad that you're safe and you're out of it and no damage at all through your career, especially with all the man. It's good. It's good to see like that, man.
All right. Well, good to talk to you, man. Let's do it again sometime.
Definitely. All right, brother. Have a good one. All right, man.
Cheers.